Drop.
Welcome to another episode of Recap with Matt for the week of June 27th. My name is Misty Brown, and my exquisite co host is.
Jennifer Gillis.
Welcome to another episode, Mac. What's going on? What kind of info can you give us? What kind of updates you got?
Well, first, I want to alert everyone, in case they did not see it on our webinar, that we are going to be holding a 10th anniversary or recognition event of this battle that started back in 2016. And there was a rally that was held in front of the White House on September the 13th. And so we're going to use that as our kickoff event. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it in Lafayette Park, where the original rally took place, because of construction activity at the White House, and they've closed the park down. But we'll be close to the White House, and we want to invite every advocate to attend. We will also do a series of meetings on the following 2 days, the 14th and 15th, and really make this a tremendous opportunity to meet with executive branch agency representatives, with congressional people, to have a hearing, we hope, on Kratom and its benefits. And we're going to focus on veterans, because in our recent congressional briefing, one thing that resonated with congressional staffers and spiked their interest, or piqued their interest in hearing more, was how veterans have benefited from the use of Kratom. So we're going to look into that in terms of being able to share veteran stories as one of our focus during this event. But everyone should plan for that if they can. Now, the issue here is going to be how you get there. We've tried in the past to obviously link vendors who are willing to sponsor people to come, advocates to come. We'll do that, but I think that we have enough time here that I hope people will, sort of reach out to their friends, do essentially a GoFundMe in order to pay the expenses to get there into Washington, D.C. So we want to have as many people as we can attend that are willing and capable of doing so. So that'd be a great event.
Can we do like a fundraiser or something? You know, remember like how back in the day you guys used to do like a Giving Tuesday type thing?
Yeah, we can look into that. I think the complexity of being able to cover people is hard, right? So I think if every individual that wants to come is just able to reach out among their friends and their support network, I think that's probably a more efficient way and effective way of doing this. I'm open to ideas. There's no question that we'd like to help everyone that we can. I particularly want to get some help for the person who really needs to be there, Robin Graham, and we want to make sure that she is able to get off her butt and get to Washington, D.C., because she didn't participate in the first rally. Now, her explanation for that was that that she was arranging things, organizing rides, and that kind of thing. May all be true, but it's a little bit thin in my estimation to constantly hear her harping about how advocates have to get involved, and maybe we just give her the opportunity to actually do something that would be a part of this event. So I hope she
I would love to meet her.
Yeah,
I would love to meet her.
And I think other people that we have some tensions with are invited too. This is going to be really an opportunity for advocates to speak up. We are not and will not advocate for those that think that 7-OH should be available. That is not a message that we want anyone in the Congress to hear, because it is not consistent with our values. It's something that too many people are giving a free pass to the 7-OH community that doesn't hold them accountable for what the federal laws are. It doesn't give a full picture of what the risks and threats are. So to 7-OH opioid products. And so we're not gonna entertain that nonsense where that we have mixed messages here. But we welcome all true natural leaf kratom product advocates to participate in this event. We look forward to it, and we'll kind of work on it.
No, we're live right now. Yeah, because I said in my last stream, if you take, advocate, or associate with anything regarding 7-OH, you are responsible for the downfall of kratom. And right now, what us advocates are doing, we are mopping up the mess from the mixed messages that are being sent to these lawmakers and policymakers and all that stuff. I don't appreciate it. I don't. Because what's saving me is in the crosshairs because of that crap.
Well, and I'll just give an example. The latest, and it's a stream of misinformation, but the latest tactic that Vince Sanders is now using, who is one of the leading manufacturers of 7-OH materials that are then white labeled and sent out across the country, is he's saying, oh, well, our basis for safety was that we were on the market pre-1994. Now, that's an interesting thought. Because again, it goes back to his argument that naturally occurring levels of 7-OH that are in kratom material therefore justifies what he's doing with this production of 7-OH. There is no question, none, zero, that the 7-OH existed in the product formulations that he's claiming prior to his big splash marketing back in 2023, but we now know by his admission that it occurred earlier than that, and it certainly was in early 2024. We think that in 2022, we think clearly that he was on the market before that, and they just kind of leaped into their market splash. But the most important thing is the products that they're marketing. These are opioids, because they've chemically manipulated them. They are designed to bypass completely the metabolism process in our bodies. They go right to the bloodstream, right to the brain, give you that euphoric high. They give you that big boost, and 2 hours later you crash, and then you're craving it, and that leads to addiction. That's what they're doing. And I'm fascinated to hear the explanations that people like Andrew Kolodny make, and he did it in Georgia, and he did it up in New York, is that he talks about how kratom is also in this category because your body produces 7-OH. What he doesn't say, and he won't because he's a charlatan in this area, he wants to say that that's what's happening, but the process that your liver uses in the metabolism of the liver converting kratom and metrogene into 7-OH is so slow that the peak levels never get even close to what a 7-OH product does. And that's because your body's natural defense systems work. And kratom is part of that process. And for them to mischaracterize this, and deliberately so, by the way, is just part of their master plan that they're going to attack kratom products. But 7-OH people are using that too. They say, oh, it's the same thing because 7-OH is created by your liver. It's nuts, because there is no way that they can justify the comparison of 7-OH in the natural metabolism process of the liver to what a 7-OH product does and how it delivers, and what they're doing today in order to bypass the natural body process completely, go right to the bloodstream, and I don't know, it's an opioid. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's destroying lives, and it's destroying the kratom name. Period.
Yeah. We have a quick question for you, because Andrew can't stay for the whole live, but can Mac talk about the import warning? It was brought up in Georgia, and now Kolodny using it as a talking point in Suffolk.
Yeah, this shows you that Andrew Kolodny appears to be a person who has very frontal cortex in his brain. He sees a word, and suddenly that converts into some authoritative statement about it. And when he was up in New York, He literally talked about the import alert. He said, well, I'm not an expert on this, but then he acted like an expert, and then he made a fool of himself because he does not understand this process. The import alert is established against all adulterated kratom products. No question about that. If they are going to be used for the purpose of a therapeutic benefit. And that's the import alert. And our beef with the FDA has always been that they don't express it correctly in the way that the import alert is applied. But the courts have forced the FDA to appropriately address this. So here's the truth of the matter. If you are importing kratom into the United States, you submit a form to the FDA, and you tell them you're bringing in kratom. You tell them you characterize it for what it is, and then they, when it arrives, have the opportunity to either detain it or let it go. And there have been dozens of cases where there have been detentions of kratom products, and those products are all released. So if Andrew Kolodny were right, and he's not, if he weren't such a fool that he is, he would have researched this better and understood it. And then when he makes a fool of himself, standing up before standing up before this legislature in New York and say, "Oh, this is what the import alert does." I'm not an expert on it. Well, no, you should have said, "Look, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to tell you what I think." I mean, let him say that. But he decided to borrow his credibility, and then he utterly destroyed it. So we don't like the import alert because it is confusing. The confusion's not an excuse for mischaracterizing what that import alert does. And that's the bottom line. And I think one of the legislators asked the right question. Well, if there's an import alert, how come it's all over the place?
Mhm.
Well, it's because Andrew Kolodny did not tell the truth about the import alert and the way that it's applied, because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know anything about it. And the only thing he said during that testimony was correct is, I'm not an expert in this. He's far less than an expert. I mean, that's just goofy. But this is Andrew Kolodny's campaign. He's decided, he wreaked havoc in the opioid pain relief community. And now he's just on another ride, looking for a buck and coming in, and he's going to be an expert witness. He's going to be this so-called expert. And I'll tell you what's fascinating to me. He has told people that he's now coming back into treating patients.
Mhm.
And did you hear what he said up in New York?
Mhm.
He said, well, I'm called to consult on cases where people are brought into the hospital and they think it's a kratom overdose. So think about this. He says, every patient I see is now a kratom patient. And he acts like it's common, it's normal, and it's happening when people come in to his office to be evaluated. That's not what's happening. He's being called in as a so-called expert by another doctor to a patient that already self-identified as being a kratom consumer. So is it a surprise that every patient you see is a kratom consumer? Because that's why they ask him to come and talk to him. I mean, the misleading, the utter deception that's involved in this is stunning.
So what is he doing to treat the patient? Giving them
Well,
Suboxone?
Yeah.
Of course. Now that's one option. I can't speak to what he does actually in the treatment of a patient. All we can observe is what he claims, and God help the person that he's called in to evaluate, because he's probably got a bottle of Suboxone in his pocket that he's going to snap out. I mean, this is just what happens, right? Because he believes that kratom is an opioid, and that's what he said. Kratom is an opioid. Now, of course, he can justify, because he's got experts that say it, right? He's got none other than Dr. Gottlieb in 2016, who was completely discredited. Gottlieb said, "Oh, it's an opioid because it does this," and everybody mocked him in the scientific community. And then he tried to say, "Oh, well, it's an opioid because it's in a 2014 textbook," and he mischaracterized what that textbook says. But even if that textbook in 2014 were accurate, we've seen science today. It changes and it evolves, and it completely evaluates and discredits what Andrew Kolodny has said, but he needs this for his narrative. He needs to be able to say kratom is an opioid. He desperately needs that to sell his nonsense that kratom is dangerous and that he's out there to protect the public.
You know, what going back to what you were talking about with the like when we went to the DC in June, the staffers, you know, yeah, their ears perked up when we talk about kratom helping veterans. It also perked up when we talked about how these chronic pain patients were left astray, you know, after this whole opioid epidemic happened, you know, which, yes, I am a survivor of the overprescribing opioid epidemic, but it was a me problem, not a substance problem, you know, and now these chronic pain patients today are caught in the middle of that because of Kolodny, you know? And so when we were talking to the staffers about how kratom can help these lost, abandoned pain patients, their ears perked up as well.
I agree, and I think that as we have developed these explanations that will go into policy discussions, that helps them immensely, because the demonization of kratom for that segment of the kratom consumer population that use it to manage acute and chronic pain, there is no better evidence of why that is critically important than what you see what NIH did when they announced their study, which I've preached this, could not proceed without there being an exhaustive, rigorous safety evaluation done by an independent institutional review board. And now we have it. And the idea that anyone wants to stand up and say, oh, well, kratom is dangerous. Well, you know, obviously, if someone in their trials that they're working with says, okay, I'm going to abuse kratom, maybe they can get to some problem area, but abuse does not mean good public policy. And we haven't seen any evidence that there is a significant problem with kratom use. And I've said it over and over again, if there were, the FDA would take action. They take every single one of these adverse event reports, including every single one of the deaths that are the so-called kratom related or kratom caused. They are evaluated by the FDA, and the output is this. The FDA says that kratom deaths are rare. NIDA says the same thing. And when they do occur, that they are related to polydrug use, which is people using other drugs. And not surprising, kratom might be in their bloodstream because kratom has been proven. And now you have an NIH study that's proceeding that people are using it effectively to get off of opioids, off of illicit drugs. So not surprising it's there. And then you have people that have underlying health conditions that they're suffering with. And then there are unique situations that if you look at the database of so-called kratom deaths, you have people that have drowned, you have people that were shot twice in the chest, which the FDA reported to the DEA, published in the Federal Register as one of the kratom-involved deaths, where they said that it was a kratom death, and the kid died in a drug sting, selling marijuana. So this is what happens, and then you get these people that are hangers on to the truth, and they can't find their way to the real truth, and they just kind of pick and slice it, and they try to cobble together something that is a problem. And that's Andrew Kolodny. He's a bizarre character, and when I've talked to him, it always devolves down to his sitting there acting like, well, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to help, and I'm not doing anything wrong here. And the most bizarre part of I've had several with him, but immediately following an hour-long presentation by the NIDA director, Nora Volkow, at the international conference, where Nora Volkow in detail evaluated her assessment of the research and the science that had been conducted, saying that kratom was your withdrawal from kratom if you are dependent on it, not addicted, but dependent in the classification of how they evaluate patients and consumers in the use of any product, that you were going to have that 5 to 10 day withdrawal experience, which is a runny nose, upset stomach, and a minor headache. Okay, that's vastly different than people that are addicted to these drugs. Immediately following that presentation, and he was sitting there, and it shows you how people can walk away with their bias and absurd conclusions because he wasn't listening. He told me, "Oh, well, Norvolco just said that kratom is highly addictive,"
No,
and it's
she
the
didn't.
he didn't say anything close to that, but he believes it. I mean, he walked away delusional. Maybe he was on 7OH when this was
Maybe,
going on. I don't know.
Sounds like it.
maybe he needed to take some kratom so he could focus, like we were sitting there being focused on what was being said. You know,
That's exactly right.
It's like, is it intentional or, I don't know about that guy. I really don't know
Well,
about that guy.
got selective
it's
hearing.
it's intentional in the sense they have to support their narrative, and so they will pick and choose comments that are made, and they will somehow shove them into their narrative. How badly contorted it gets at the end, they don't care. So I think that guys like Andrew Kolodny, and you've got the Dean Francis with his crusade, which is poorly based, and we can talk more about him. I just did a episode 5 of our End Kratom Misinformation series that examines this closely. We have his 911 call now, where that completely blows up his story. He sat and told the world in a press release in December of 2025, leading into the Virginia legislative session, saying that, mocking the AKA for saying that, somehow kratom is so good, but 7OH is not involved in his son's situation at all, and that he mocked us for even suggesting it. He tells the world that 7OH wasn't involved, and then he goes through the legislative session, convinces obviously Delegate Cole. He speaks before committees as the bills went through, and he was pushing a ban, which did not get implemented. But at the end of the day, he ignores all that. But he tells them that 7OH was not involved in his son's crisis. And then he tells the governor the same story with his son present. And none of them were recognizing the fact that the reality that 7OH was involved. And the 911 call nails it, proves it. You have a desperate father who's calling 911 with a crisis his son was going through, where he thought his son was going to go out and kill someone with his car because he had just drunk a fifth of whiskey, and they found other alcohol bottles. So he drank more than one fifth of whiskey, and that he was on 7OH. He says it explicitly, clearly in this 911 call in response to questions asked by the 911 operator. And he has the guts, the gall, and the utter, I don't know how to describe it. He doesn't care. And he just says, oh, 7OH wasn't involved. Now he's changing his story. He has to, because the records now, the Floridian article that exposed what was going on in that whole situation, his first response was to say, oh, well, the reporter previously was accused of attempted murder. And that was his, I'm climbing on my high horse, and I'm going to say that guy was bad. Well, it turns out that the incident that led to his arrest initially was his defending his sister against a boyfriend who was assaulting her, and that it got out of hand, and they completely dismissed all the charges. So I don't know. In the United States, you're innocent till you're proven guilty, but not in Dean Francis's eye, because
Mm-mm.
anyone who criticizes him is evil, and
Mhm.
that's the narrative. So I mean, this 911 call is unbelievable.
When did the
Given
911 call come out?
it happened in April 1st of this year.
Okay.
And so
Oh.
it was right when all this was going on with the legislature, and he's up there telling them something that's completely not true, while he knows that his son is suffering from this crisis. Really too bad. But he sent me personally a text message where he said, explaining his attack. He said, "This is quote, God blessed me with incredible instincts. I don't understand it, but I am rarely wrong." What?
Hmm.
God made me do it. I mean, this is
Hmm.
like Bizarro Land. His son Cameron sent me a clip from a movie thing that he had picked out where it talks about the storm is coming, and then he threatens me and said, "We're coming for you." I mean, what are these people doing? There's serious problems there that haven't been disclosed, haven't been fully discussed, and haven't been recommended to the public. But then you go back to this 911 call. I'll tell you exactly what was said. The 911 operator asks the question when the call comes in. This is what Dean Francis says: "We have a 30-year-old son that took something earlier. I believe it's 7-OH. And in addition to drinking some alcohol, he is like losing his mind. He's psychotic. He's like, I don't know what else to do." And the 911 operator then says, "Well, how is he acting?" And Dean Francis says, "He's in a rage. He can't move his car. He wants the keys, but if he goes out now, he could kill someone. He's in a rage." That's what he tells the operator while he's telling Governor Spanberger, "Oh, my son was trapped by natural kratom leaf." Then the operator says, "Okay, is he responding normally? Is he completely alert?" Dean Francis says, "He's not responding normally. He's literally like hallucinating. He literally walked into our house with a whole bottle of whiskey that he had just drank. I found 2 more." And we're like, "What are you doing? You're drinking." Cameron says, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And then, like he just bumped her, I think he means his wife, like he doesn't believe he's been drinking. The whole thing's like insane.
Are they
Like,
all in psychosis?
dude,
Like,
wow.
I'm wondering, I feel so bad for Cameron. I truly do. It's like,
Yeah.
I know I've been where he's at, but I can't help but to think that Dean is the problem. Dean is the substance. He can't
Yeah.
escape his daddy Dean.
It
I,
just,
I
I
think
mean,
yeah.
wow. The truth always comes out, though. I can't imagine getting up in front of so many people so many times over and over and just not saying the truth.
Well,
Tracy, it happened in April.
yeah. So the truth of this is that he didn't think he would get caught. That's the bottom
Right?
line. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll say whatever I need to say. I've concocted this story, and then all of a sudden it blows up on him. What's his first reaction? Was, "Oh, I'm going to shoot the messenger. The messenger had this legal problem in his past, so therefore I'm going to attack him." He doesn't say, "Well, maybe I overstated this. Maybe I should have been more sensitive to what my son was going through. Maybe I shouldn't have mischaracterized it." He didn't do any of that. He wants to defend this narrative that he's desperate for, because he's now, misled the Virginia legislature, but he's up in Congress doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
he thinks he's going to get away with it, but he's not, because that's why we're here, to correct the record, to make sure that these legislators get to hear the truth. And he will he will have the burden that he's going to have to carry of all of the lies, all of the mischaracterizations, all the distortions, because there are many. And we're not going to let him just kind of walk around saying, "Oh, well, I'm defending people that need to be protected against this natural kratom leaf product," when in fact his own son's experience was related to alcohol addiction, other drugs, and 7-OH. He may have taken natural leaf, that's fine, but it didn't cause a problem, and the problem is really what he has. So
Cameron's problem is it looks like he's looking for escape routes.
Yeah.
It's almost like Dean probably said, if you don't get your act together, you're not going to be in my will. I don't know.
well, I don't know. You said it right. It's sad. It's sad for
It
Cameron.
is.
It is.
It's sad for a family that now wants to convert the problem to something different in order to explain it so that they can live with it. That's it's just tragic in that sense. But the one thing that needs to be emphasized is all we're seeking is the truth. And
Right.
if he would just say, okay, 7OH is a problem, let's work together. Let's go fight this battle against 7OH. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to make it natural kratom leaf, and that's seriously the foundation for the foundation built on a pile of sand, by the way, for him to use his national platform now of end kratom addiction. I mean, this is about alcohol. It's about other drugs. It's not about
Yeah.
kratom, and he needs to just fess up to it. And he's got it's it's been a truly bizarre experience dealing with
Wow. I
this.
can't respect, I have no respect for anybody that is a liar. But again, to get up in front of so many people and have this whole, this huge public thing, and just it's all based on lies. That's
Yeah.
something that takes a certain kind of person.
So he puts up pictures of he and Senator McKell at the
Hmm.
podium in the Utah State Senate chamber, and highlights how he won the battle in Utah. He didn't win any more of the battle in Utah than he won in Virginia. He came to get a ban, and what they walked away with is some restrictions on kratom. We don't like some of those restrictions, but it's not a ban. And in Virginia, he walked away with a labeling instruction that is fundamentally wrong, and it mischaracterizes kratom to the extent that it violates the federal law. So he can have these little sniper attacks, and he might get a Pyrrhic victory here and there, but it's not based on the truth. And it's certainly not based on an accurate representation of what his son is going through, which he's using to highlight his campaign. And then he acts like, oh, I'm just trying to help people. No, he's helping. God told him to do this, apparently. And so he's now up there on trying to get on the national stage, along with the likes of Patty Wheeler, with Wendy Chamberlain, with Mike McKell, and with Andrew Kolodny. I mean,
And
this
now
cast of
Templeton.
Hmm.
and Templeton. Yeah, that's an interesting one as well. Templeton testified in the most mean-spirited way known to man at the
Yeah.
Georgia hearing. It's just, but that was a stacked deck in the Georgia hearing. It was all orchestrated by our good friend, Representative Townsend. And he brought in this cast of characters that were anti-kratom, which he said, "Oh no, Mac, I thought I was very fair, very equitable." Well, when you have I don't know 8 witnesses to 3, I don't think that's equitable in any way, in any at least any sane person's view of the world. But that's what he said. This is all part of the battle and the narrative, and we're going to be in there fighting it as best we can to make sure that the decisions that are made are based on accurate information rather than these fictional kind of charades that people are engaged in.
You brought up Utah. That was actually a question that someone had yesterday on X. Could you explain the restrictions that are actually happening in Utah a little bit more?
Sure. So they banned 7OH, which is great. They banned all extracts on kratom products, which is not great. And the definition that they put into it is that, and I'm just paraphrasing, but kratom is contained anything in the Mitragynous specioso leaf that is concentrated. Now, when we analyzed that and our legal team looked at it, that's a problem for Utah. And so we're going to be looking into that. We've talked to the Attorney General's office. We think there's a process where we have to bring this issue to a head. You can concentrate in extracts, kratom products that are dangerous, but there are methods where you can create an extract that are safe and that maintain the same ratios of the plant material in the original plant. So, and there are actually some extracts that deconcentrate those things. So we're going to have an interesting discussion going forward there. But extracts are banned right now. And then they required that the only way that you can purchase a kratom product is in a tobacco store where you have to have a certain percentage of the amount of tobacco that's sold in order to get in. So it's a smoke shop essentially,
Hmm.
and that's the only place you can buy it. We don't like that. We think it's a restraint, an unnecessary restraint on people. It stigmatizes any kratom consumer that may not want to go into a smoke shop. And the interesting thing was that during the discussion, Senator McKell was saying how, people were being misled, that they were not by clerks, and that they weren't checking for ages. Well, I don't know. Smoke shops aren't known for their following the law. So they put it in the worst place possible. So we've got work to do in Utah to fix that problem next year. And so we'll see how that plays out.
Does it ban online sales?
It does.
How?
Well,
What program is out there that would, you know what I mean?
It'd be complaint based. Someone would order it, they would receive it, and then they would file a complaint. And the Utah regulators would have the opportunity to take the manufacturer to court that is selling the product there in Utah.
So like secret shoppers?
It would be that. It would be the anti-kratom people to be out there buying products and then exposing it. It's not a great process, because we did that with 7-OH products and the state struggled to enforce against it. So, it's a terrible law, and it needs to be fixed. And there are better ways to control, to the extent that there needs to be control at the point of sale, to make sure that you are actually not selling it to someone who's over, underage. There are ways to fix this, but not in Senator McKell's world. I mean, he's
another Dean. He's another Dean Francis.
Yeah. I think I told you that one of his colleagues told me, when trying to explain what he was like, he said he's a guy that would climb to the top of Mount Everest and kiss a albino yak on the lips if he thought a news camera was there. He's just a media hound. And I think that's all.
Megan wants to know if you give an update on Michigan and North Carolina.
So North Carolina has a conference committee that someone on the conference has proposed that they complete ban on kratom. So we are really going to work hard on that one. We got our lobbying teams working on it now. This is the way the legislative process works sometimes, and not to our advantage, because one member can stick something in that has nothing to do with regular order. They haven't actually provided any kind of input from stakeholders or consumers. So we're pushing hard on that one. In Michigan, you've got a similar situation where I understand that Speaker Hall has now decided he's going to insert kratom into the budget battle, because they're in the middle of that right now. Again, this is all legislative manipulation, and so we're doing our best to fight up there too. He could not get his ban bill that was passed in the House, could not get it in the Senate, and so now he's just playing games at this point in order to try to sneak it through. It's terrible government, but it's what they do. Same thing they did in Kentucky, where they slipped it into the last day of the session. It was in a revenue bill. Thankfully, we were able to convince the governor to extend the enactment date, so we get another legislative session under our belts, so we can work through that. But very, very disappointing in terms of good government and accountable government with these kinds of manipulations.
So these are the backdoor bans. North Carolina slipped it into a hemp bill, and then Michigan slipped it into a budget bill.
Mm-hmm.
Has nothing to do with kratom at all.
Just like Connecticut.
Like Connecticut, yep.
And yeah, Crystal, he did go over Ohio last week. I can't remember exactly, but I don't think anything's changed in Ohio, has it?
Well, the one thing that did change that I thought was significant is that the Board of Pharmacy representatives showed up at the hearing with JCAR, which is the Joint Committee on Agency Review, and the co-chairs of JCAR were very critical of the Board of Pharmacy. The House co-chair said to the Board of Pharmacy member, "We had an agreement that you agreed to, that you were not going to pursue natural leaf kratom ban." And the representative said, "Well, we didn't see it that way. We're going to discuss that in our first, at our meeting here on the 1st of July." And so there was a strong message sent to the Board of Pharmacy, and I think they're going to get a follow-up message sent And so it's going to be tough on them, but we're watching that situation carefully. We'll see what they do in their meeting. We suspect, based on input we've received, that they are going to drop the natural kratom ban. But we're suing the AK with some stakeholders in Ohio. We're suing the Department of Agriculture, just like we did the Board of Pharmacy. And we're going to keep pursuing every avenue we can to protect consumer access to natural kratom leaf products.
Should
And
we be emailing everybody like the Ohio, North Carolina, and Michigan right now?
Well, North Carolina, we have an alert out. Yes. Michigan, we have an alert out. Ohio, we don't need to do anything at this point. We might change that position here in the next couple of days.
watching that JCAR hearing in Ohio was just amazing.
It was great.
It's like
Very
it was like
refreshing to
to
see
me-
people actually.
yeah. To me, it's like those reps. I don't know, like you know how a nun would slap you on the wrist with a ruler. That's what it reminded me of. It was like that Board of Pharmacy dude was getting whacked.
Well, if they're going over, they're bound. They deserve it.
Well, and
Yeah,
I think it's telling that the Speaker of the House, who's on the committee, laid into him. And, so I think that they see that there's not going to be a friendly legislative pathway for them to push these bans through.
can we get it out of smoke shop and gas stations? It's fueling these local bans. Like just have a CBD kratom type shops only. I know it's a big step.
I personally don't agree with that proposition. And it's because largely of the information that was specifically given to me by the director of NIDA, Nora Volko. She said that when I made I made the comment that we were really struggling with this issue about access to kratom products in convenience stores and gas stations. And she said to me, no, people that are suffering from these kinds of addictions for kratom helps them are not going to seek treatment that they should perhaps have with their underlying drug issues. They're going to look for relief. And if we can provide that relief, it needs to be readily accessible. And she makes a very strong point that that you need to make sure it's age gated and enforced properly. And the formulations of the product have to be great. You're not just taking one drug for another. So I think that my feeling is that this is a talking point that we're facing where people are saying, oh, it's in gas stations and it's gas station heroin. We need to educate people about the value that natural kratom leaf products have and that they can ban 7-OH products all day. And that's something that I think is important. And part of that, by the way, I just had a discussion with the local mayor 2 days ago, and he was pushing this, ban from on kratom products. And I made it clear to him that even if you ban a 7-OH product, my personal view is that you should not criminally penalize a consumer for having possession. And I personally don't believe in that. And so he's a very conservative guy that I was talking to, and he challenged me. He said, well, our Republican view is, I said, no, actually, that's not. I know it's easy to say for all drugs, 7-OH, you ban it, but imposing specific problems and certainly restrictions and penalties on consumers is just wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's where I've always felt too. It's like, for a while there, I wasn't. I was anti-prohibition on 7-OH, and then I finally had my fed up moment in February of this year when I was testifying in Utah, where I was like, you know what, ban it, just freaking ban it, because attending all these different hearings, I was everything was adding up. I was coming to a pressure boiling point, and in February when I said that, I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna be loud and proud about it. I don't care who I piss off.
Yeah.
It's
only escalated since then. It's only gotten worse since then. Like the media, journalists, I mean, you name it, people just on Facebook. Whew, it's rough.
But I don't agree with penalizing the people for using it. I
No.
never agreed with that at all. So
No.
I don't know if the DEA announcement comes out. Hopefully, maybe can they put like an amendment in there, a clause?
No, I think that the federal law, if under the Controlled Substances Act, when you make it a Schedule One, the current law requires those penalties on possession. That's going to be different than the legislation that we're pushing, that would, of course, not criminalize the possession of either 7-OH or natural kratom leaf products if they are, poorly formulated. The onus is on the manufacturer and the distributor. They are the ones that are responsible for the delivery of these products. So that's where we're focusing. We have both the 7-OH bill and a KCPA that we're going to be pushing that will be consistent with what I've just described, and that's the way we're going to push forward.
Tiffany, you are not alone on this. She says, "Oh, I don't know what happened to Jen. She probably got Wi-Fi problems." But Tiffany says, "As a business owner, I've seen the negative from 7-OH. When it came out, they lied to us. Had at least a dozen companies send samples, Simply 7 cent samples and called me trying to get me to order 4 times. That is drug dealer behavior. I'm sorry. It's like when I go to the Champ show, getting all those free samples, like that's typical drug dealer behavior.
Well, I think the best evidence of that is when the announcement was made that the HHS and FDA were seeking a Schedule One classification for 7-OH. That it was Vince Sanders, when asked by a distributor on social media, should I pull this stuff from our shelves? And his answer was no. This will be the greatest marketing thing we've ever been through. You'll see sales spike through the roof. This is their attitude. And now, the response should have been, in my opinion, that if there is a basis for the recommendation for 7-OH to be scheduled, and assuming that the science is behind it, which it is apparently, then a more cautious approach would have been, well, you certainly should start to scale down. We're going to be respectful of the law. He didn't say that at all. And so that's really kind of the essence of the problem we run into with the unethical behavior of some of these people that are involved in the manufacturing and distribution of these 7-OH opioids. We just have to fight back.
And I agreed with your when Soren was on that webinar the other night and was asking you about this, and you were talking about there's nobody, pretty much you were naming off all the people. There's nobody you could trust in the 7-OH industry. Nobody.
No,
and it's like
I have my oldest son struggled with a lot of issues, not drugs, thankfully, but he did have a problem with his relationship with the truth. And I knew that he was lying when his lips were moving. And that's the kind of thing you see with the 7-OH community. They're slick talkers, and they'll say anything they have to say, and they'll reach and they'll find any kind of way to figure it out. I mean, it makes no sense, but that's what they're doing. And so that's the way I look at it. You just have to treat it. We were approached and asked if there was any way that we could start working with the 7-OH community to try to stop some of these bans that are undergoing. I mean, that's appealing. Could we somehow consolidate and work on it? And the answer to that is no, because they can't be trusted for 1 second. They'll be up there telling legislators that we'd have to spend our time correcting what they're saying because they don't tell the truth. And so we're
doing it now.
Yeah. True.
We're doing it now. It's like it boggles my mind that people think, because the stupid saying that I keep seeing people read, or when I read it, is the AKA shot themselves in the foot. It's like, why would you even think the AKA would be advocating for 7-OH? It is not even a kratom product. They're called the American Kratom Association, not the Molested Molecule Association.
Well, like it's just going to sit around like it was it's just nobody was ever going to have any issues with it. It's all the AKA's fault because they called attention to the difference. And it's like, if that another, I say it all the time, they're living in another world.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. And if anyone thinks the AK's role is to just let anything out on the marketplace, we rang the bell loudly against 7-OH in 2019 before any of this became widely commercially available. We were there saying there had to be limits. We have reported over 130 kratom companies to the FDA for their improper and illegal marketing tactics. We've tried to be, as best we can, the sentinel in trying to protect natural leaf kratom product consumers from unsafe products. And we're going to continue that role. And I get it that the 7-OH community entrapped a lot of people that were natural kratom leaf products, you consumers, because they were told that they were kratom. Even today, many of these products have natural kratom alkaloids on it, which is complete nonsense. I mean, it's improper marketing, it's deceptive marketing, and it needs to be corrected. So we're going to be there as best we can, fighting every battle in the trenches that we can do. And I'll tell you, I've got to go here at the top of the hour, but let's talk about Florida, because I think that's a significant thing. You've got the AG who did two things that I think were significant. One is that he put a new rule in place, right? And that's great, because the 7-OH people were bragging that they had millions of products sitting at the border, and as soon as July 1st came, they were going to flood the state with this stuff. And that would have been obviously a real threat to the safety of a lot of Florida consumers. But the AG said no, he reimposed the rule. He did so against the political headwinds of the current speaker of the House of Representatives in Florida, who hates him and who is in bed with, as we understand it, literally the 7-OH lobbyist, if you believe what they said in the political media outlets down there. But the good news is that speaker will be gone before the next legislative session, and the current ban that the AG put in place extends to the period of time next year beyond the legislative session. So the legislature will be able to affirm this rule. The second thing that he did that was critically important was he defined what the 7-OH products are with great specificity, because he got to the MGM 15 and 16. He got to the 8-OH and the 10-OH and the 12-OH products and pseudodoxil. Now, there was a comment made by the brilliant scientist from 7-OHMs, or from 7-HOPE Alliance, I'm sorry, where Miss Ross, where she said, "Oh, there was a loophole." So here's the way the process works, Miss Ross. When you find an error, a loophole, it gets fixed. And you have an attorney general who's committed to fixing any of those loopholes. So you can mock maybe a loophole that was created inadvertently, but it happens all the time. We fix it. There are technical revisions that are made to legislation in every state across the country. And the fact that she was so ridiculously dumb about that process is consistent, because that's the way she rolls. But I was entertained by her statement that was the case. But the AG is committed to getting rid of these synthetic, these chemically manipulated products and protecting consumers. And God love him for doing it. I don't think God told him to do it. We'll have to ask Dean, but he certainly is doing the right thing.
It's almost like they're having to follow the same playbook of what, like when they banned illicit fentanyl. There's like column after column of all these different names of the analogs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it seems like it's going down with, It's just 7-0 got to go. 7-0 got to go.
Well, and that's what the DEA is struggling with today, is that they have limitations where in the form of the statutory requirements. This is why we think we need a statutory bill on 7-OH. Is the bottom line is they have to have a specific kind of evidence in the 8-factor analysis that would allow them to move forward with this. And they're struggling because they can't capture the new products that are on the market for which there is not enough surveillance data or scientific evidence about it, but they know the threat. And they described it exactly. It's a whack-a-mole thing. So they're trying to craft the actual provision that would extend through the Analog Act to capture these things. It's not easy, and they're doing their best. So my solution is, at least as we've evaluated their struggle with this, let's just have a federal ban statutorily, which would amend what the Controlled Substances Act limitations are for 7OH. And I think we can get that through. Congressman Bilirakis has already filed the bill. I think you're going to see some amendments to that bill. And I think that there's an urgency that is being recognized by the Congress to move on this. So we're going to try that avenue as well.
Okay, so since you got 5 minutes left with us, so let's recap with Mac. So we have the September rally coming up, September 13th for the rally, and then 14th and 15th we will have opportunities to go to the offices. So you guys need to plan now. Get your butts out there to DC. And then so North Carolina, you said you have an alert up, but you don't have one up for Michigan yet?
I think I'll check. I think we have one up for Michigan. Well, maybe not, but we do have it for North Carolina, and we will have the Michigan one up quickly because we're now finding that budget battle is going to be influenced by a conference committee, not going to be public. So we'll have to work on that. Same in North Carolina. So that's you'll see that Michigan alert up very quickly.
Okay, so you'll be sending out an email blast soon?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Someone had a question about California. If you want to just do that real quick, is there any update for California?
No, other than the option that we have in California is pretty straightforward, and that is to get the FTA and Kratom webpage changed, because there's nothing we can do until the next legislative session in order to fix this next year, and we're going to be in the middle of this tension between the ridiculous conclusion of the Department of Public Health that all kratom is adulterated under the federal law and therefore it overlays onto their state law. They're wrong on this, but they're basing it completely on the FTA and Kratom webpage, and we've got to get that changed. And we're working like crazy.
Okay.
Are we close to the DEA ban on stuff? Any day now.
We've been saying that for a while.
Yeah, I'm not going to depend on it. I think we have to do something on it legislatively.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right.
Okay. Anything else you want to update us with, Mac? You want to leave us with any thoughts and prayers?
Well, I'll say this, and it's going to be a complete suck up comment. You guys are fabulous. It's getting the word out. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you doing this. But this platform is critically important, and it's honest. You're not going to see that in that other group, the Kratom 7OH gals. That's not honest, and unfortunately they've dug in and they're peddling their nonsense, but it's not protecting consumers, and it ultimately will be the downfall if we continue this, trying to say, oh, let's leave 7OH alone. 7OH is an opioid. It is a threat to the safety of anyone who takes it, and it is going to be the downfall of natural kratom if we don't stop it. So that's where we are, and you guys are doing a great job. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on here. You've given us an hour of a power hour. Sometimes you go over an hour on Saturdays, but thank you for giving us your time to do this because the community loves this. They truly do.
Yes, we all appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, and look forward to next week.
Okay, bye, Mac.
Thanks.
All right,
See you
bye,
later.
Mac.